to go on to the two film documentaries, which I explained in the first part. This is a Vipco story and Netflix versus the world. Now these are two different type of stories, but the documentaries have one thing in common, which is they're both too long. They're both massive sections that you don't need. Especially the Vipco story. The Vipco story is a 2-hour documentary. It should have been an hour 20. Netflix vs. the world is like 2 hours and it should have been an hour and a half. You know. But they both got a lot of good stuff in them, but they're both very messy. They're really weird documentaries that should have been re-edited to cut down and get to the basics quicker, because they really don't justify their running time. You know, there's not enough instant in them to actually justify what the running time actually is. I like long documentaries. I loved stuff like Sorrow and Pity, which is like hours long, Shower, stuff like that, because they justified the time they were spending and they were telling you stuff, and there was so much there, really. And these two documentaries, there's not that much there, you know. So I'll start with the Vipco story. The Vipco story is a film distributor from the early 80s who went to video. Well, basically, it was a guy who was started off as a pirate, and then he went into video distribution of films that had come out, and he would pick up the video rights and then put them onto videotapes and give them gaudy covers, and they would sell a fortune on them because people were sick of the video nasty. So a lot of time he would have the cut versions, but sometimes, and if there was an uncut version of something that had been passed, he would have it up on an extreme uncut version. So the guy was called Michael Lee, not Mike Lee the director, this was someone else, and he was a businessman first and foremost. He wasn't massively passionate about the films. They were okay, he enjoyed them well enough, but he didn't really care that much. It was just, that was a market. He tried a bunch of different type of films, but the video nasty stuff was the stuff that sold, and he realised this sells, this is a market for me if I want to make money. So he wanted to make money, so he became the guy who distributed all these films like House by the Cemetery, The Beyond, all the really gory films that you don't want people to know you own. Now you can get them through Arrow and you can own them with nice covers and stuff. But before, they just had a cover and it would just be a black, it would just be a gaudy cover. Like Gorilla Killer cover was the notorious one that got it banned as a video nasty. They did that. I mean, they did so many gaudy covers for so many films that became video nasties, or all became video nasties, that they were sort of like synonymous with video nasties, and a lot of people they distributed films to, a lot of places sold them, they became like prosecuted, and so did Vipco for a couple of titles, and it was so they were knee deep in video nasties, but it was also a very profitable thing to do because they knew the police, because the police, even though the police raided them, they got to know them, and it was like, well, it's just a business, so it's like, well, be professional about it. That's what was interesting in the documentary, is the idea was like, it's just a business, and well, people were taking it very seriously in some level, other people weren't taking it seriously. So it just became something that was a business to people. It was never taken that seriously. It was hype, it was a way to sell the film. It wasn't something that they were losing sleep over. What was also going on with them is they were making a lot of money. Well, this was a gold mine, because this was something no one else would touch. The big distributors at the time, like CIC, who did like Universal and Paramount films, they wouldn't touch this stuff. Warner's wouldn't touch this stuff. Columbia wouldn't touch this stuff. But Vipco would, and Vipco would make a fortune. And Vipco had a lot of employees who are driving Jaguars and stuff, because they were making a shitload of money. They were selling stuff like Shogun Assassin as well. They were making a bucket load. And even though the film's prints weren't of great quality, it didn't matter because you were actually seeing them, really. You were seeing the film that no one else would like to see. Vipco was buying the distribution rights to them and selling them on. And because these were harder to get, hard films to get it through the country and through the censorship, like Vipco would handle that and get it through the censors. And they would be able to keep on getting the license back because Vipco knew how to get body sensors, especially during the James Fairman era, which was very sensitive and very difficult to get through because it was a kind of partly a conservative government who hated this stuff, and partly because you had a censor who thought he knew better than the public. So you had a lot of difficulties there, but it worked. So Vipco worked, and then they tried to make films, and that didn't work out very well because they didn't really know what they were doing, and they were firing directors, and there was a horrible atmosphere. So they didn't go very far into that, and they just kept on making these videos, like making videos that people want to see. I remember some of the covers of these videos. I mean, I was a bit young to buy them when they were released, but later I'd know of them. I probably owned a few of them, but nothing major. I was never into video nasties really. It was never really my thing. So when I'm watching this, you get a lot of people who obviously had an affection for those films because they were seeing stuff they couldn't see, but it wasn't stuff I was really into. I've seen quite a lot of them later and enjoyed them for what they were, but they were kind of exploitative trash a lot of the time, and there was a lot of bad ones. There were some good ones too, but most of them are bad. You know, which this documentary even admits so much of this stuff was terrible, but people wanted them because they were almost banned, or were banned, and you got a cut version that was terribly transferred, but it was something. It was anything you could get. And then when they could release a uncut version, they'd have uncut high in the cover, so you knew it was uncut. The downfall came, they kept on going on, and they were fine. The downfall came when it came to DVD. When DVD came out in the late 90s, Vipco weren't really ready for that because Vipco were low budget, high profit producers. They'd buy a film for very little money, mass distribute it, make a lot of profits off it because the actual, what you were really paying for was the licensing rights, then the costs of the cover and the back text of the box, and then a bit of publicity, and then you would just send them to distributors, and they were selling them. They'll take a cut, the rest was coming back to Vipco, and they were making a packet from it because they weren't buying these films for much money in the first place, because a lot of the films were worthless. But because they were going around to all these distributors and all these different places that would sell them onto the public face to face, they would still make a packet. They didn't have to publicise them that much. Just an ad here or there, and they would be fine. And then do some publicity gimmicks once in a while to publicise themselves. But then after all that, DVD came out, and they were not doing the good transfers. They just did not do good transfers. And when DVD came out, fans expected a decent transfer, decent quality audio, which you're only going to get from Vipco. And at this point, Vipco was actually even cutting back in the covers because of this thing that I remember actually was they would just have the title on the front of the box, and it would be like gold. It was a Vipco release, and it made it feel as if it was so horrible you couldn't show any image from the film. It was just like you have to buy it, and it's so extreme that you can't publicise it with any of the images from the film. That's what it was. Which is a nice publicity gimmick. But people were getting wise to Vipco doing that, and they weren't buying the films because they knew the films weren't good quality. They were just, you were getting ripped off because you'd buy stuff from a foreign distributor and get the subtitles as well, which is what I did when DVD came out. I used to learn to buy from foreign because you could get good copies better than you get over in Britain. So it was just a lot simpler. So people became much more international in how you bought what stuff, and the BBFC had much less of a pull. So that was the thing. So Vipco didn't learn from that. They just did not learn. Eventually, Michael Lee had a personal problem with his son died. So that devastated him, and the company just slowly fell away at that point, and that was it. It was over. So it was a niche success that they made a lot of money off it, and they ran high for a while, and they had nice houses and stuff and nice cars because they're the only gaming town that would cover certain films. But at a certain point, the market moved on, and I went to DVD, and then Arrow started to build, and you had Eureka doing their monster movies as well as their more upmarket films. You had a lot of people who were putting more effort into the transfers, putting money into transfers, putting good extras out, and making it worth your while buy those versions of the films rather than the garbagey Vipco ones. Because I remember for years I had terrible versions of Argento films in DVD because there wasn't any good ones. And then eventually I started releasing the good ones, so you bought them. But I had all these old ones that were probably Vipco. I don't know if they were or not, but they were terrible distributed ones that were panned and scanned, awful looking, you could barely see anything, it was dark. So of course they were going to go out of business. And that's what it just shows is like, you have to keep up the market. That's the way it has to be. That takes us to the second film, really, of this, the film focused thing, which is Netflix versus World. Or it should really be called Netflix versus Blockbuster, because that's really what it covers. That's the interesting stuff. It shows you how Netflix started, what the inspiration was. When basically it was two guys sitting in a car, their company was getting bought out, and one of them was losing their job, and someone said, well, I'll finance you to start another company up. So the other guy was looking for something to do, and because DVD time was coming in. So this is how this overlaps. When Vipco was going out, Netflix was just starting up. So this was at a time when DVDs were slowly becoming the new thing. But it's the mid-90s, go towards the late 90s, where DVDs were not a big thing yet. It was mainly video still. People hadn't moved over. It's like, I mean, in the 90s, this is some facts that this documentary gets wrong. Like they say that no one was buying anything at this time, it was just rental and VHS. I was buying tons of VHSs then. A lot of people were. The VHS market was huge to buy from as well. They get that wrong in this documentary, so they get basic details wrong, which makes me think they maybe didn't research as well as they should have. The interesting one was when I saw DVDs, because they were so simple to send, because they were just CD size, you could send them out to people who don't want to buy the film, just want to see it, because they didn't see it in the cinema, they wanted to see it still. So Netflix slowly became a customer service, a niche customer service, to be honest. Even in America, it had like 4 or 5 million subscribers, because they were just posting stuff out and bringing them back. It's what Netflix, not Netflix, what Love Film became in Britain. I used to use Love Film. It's the same thing really, as you order your preferred films, and slowly you'd get the ones you want, bit by bit, and you'd come to you, you'd watch them. Because a lot of time there's only way to see certain films that were hard to buy because they were so expensive, so you could just see them through Love Film. Netflix were the same, they did a lot of titles, some obvious, some obscure, and they would basically rent them to you. You couldn't buy them, just rent them to you. And that's what they did. That's their thing. And they built over time. They had some good times, some bad times, but they remained a consistent rental unit for a very long time. They built up slowly. They used the internet as it was starting to be a base for people to rent their films. They went to the forums to get the people who were influencers early on. They just built up a good business by being professional, by keeping up with the titles, and just by doing their job properly, basically. They just were good at what they did. And they were basically a service that was always floating around in the background. Like, people used it, but no one thought about it too much, and it worked. Well, there's all stuff like that nowadays, just things that you use, but you never really think about how they're functioning. And this film goes into how they functioned, how they built it up, and how they were delivering a service. It goes on too much about it, actually. I mean, it could have been quicker, really. Because you got the point, but sometimes it meandered a little bit to get to the point. Then, at a certain point, Blockbuster started to notice that Netflix was growing, and Netflix was competition to Blockbuster. So Blockbuster was at the stores, and Netflix had the internet. And Blockbuster started to slowly realise that it was getting cannibalised by Netflix. Not to a degree that would worry them, but it was there, it was in the background. They had meetings with them, and they were trying to buy Netflix at some point, and Netflix just said, give them a price, and it was too high. And at that point, Netflix got really competitive and realised they had to outperform Blockbuster to stay competitive. At a certain point, Blockbuster created their own online renting service, which they were starting to push when they started to collapse. When they fired their CEO and replaced him with somebody who didn't have a clue the business, and all hell broke loose. So a good part of this documentary is all about that. Is like how Blockbuster failed, how they didn't read the market properly, and when they did, they messed it all up by not trusting the people they'd hired and just not trusting them. Meanwhile, at Netflix, they had the opposite thing where, because it was such a niche market, their CEO, who was brought in fairly early to run the business side of it, because he was the initial financier of it, and as it grew, he became the main guy to do all the tactics, really. He was working with limits, so he knew how to work with limits, how to slowly evolve and slowly build things up. So they built up slowly, and they also recognised when they had to change. They recognised the digital markets was going to happen at some point. The streaming market was going to happen. So they slowly adjusted to that over time. Like the late noughties, they were already moving towards, like, even though there wasn't many titles to stream, even when the internet wasn't as good as it should be, they started to do that as a plus service to the rent, and then slowly that side built up and the other side fell away. But so they managed to move over slowly. They did a very gradual progression. So by the time the streaming thing had really kicked in, Netflix was the centre of it because they did it very gradually. This was something I wish they'd done more on, actually. They did so much in Netflix versus Blockbuster about the war there, which could have been covered a lot quicker. And then we did the transfer over from rental to streaming. I think it's the last half hour of the film, when the rest of the film's all about renting, like DVDs and naughties. And it could have done a lot more about the streaming thing and how they managed to change it over. Because that was the interesting thing. It's never really covered as well as you would like. And then suddenly, of course, Netflix goes from small place to place who are doing all these programs and blah blah blah. And it doesn't get into enough detail about that. Or the Netflix we see now, who are doing all these programs, have all these films in the service, who are now getting competition with Disney and Warner's and things. That is not covered enough. But what is covered a lot is the initial wars and how Netflix was underdog and had to really work to keep himself afloat. And now, the suggestion is because Netflix learned that way, they'll probably be pretty well off even in this new war with Disney and stuff, because they are the kind of still the underdog, they still have that kind of mentality. Which who knows if that's true or not. Netflix makes a lot of mistakes now as well. But it's kind of a mediocre documentary. The subject matter is so much more interesting than the actual execution. That's the thing, and I'm talking about it, I'm explaining it. That's better than what I saw in the documentary. The documentary just meanders on, it plods along, and it really is Netflix versus Blockbuster for so much of it, and there's so much that could have been cut out. It's not as bad as the Vipco one, where the Vipco had so much repetition. The Vipco one were all over the place and timelines in a way that made you think it was a rough cut that hadn't been cut down properly. At least the Netflix one feels like it's an actual film that's been finished. The other one doesn't. It just doesn't. But that's the way it goes. That's just what happens sometimes. They're both interesting documentaries. They're both available somewhere. The Vipco story is on, I think it's on Spooky's disc. It's an extra, it's a DVD extra, and Netflix documentary you'll find around somewhere. They're both interesting to see, to get information from, but they both are way too long. They both really drag on, way longer than they should. So that's the downside. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back soon with some more videos, but that's the last one for the week so far that I've planned. I'll see you soon. Bye.